Welcome to the Transform Your Wealth and Health podcast, where experts in wealth, health, and fitness help transform your life. Here's your host, Andy Arter.
Hi, this is a very special recording of the Transform Your Wealth and Health podcast. It's live and it's also the 50th episode that we've put out. Whoopee! Also, we have today's episode going out on World Mental Health Day. So we're going to talk about mental health and how you can improve your mental health and how it also affects even the successful and elite people amongst us. So I've had some people on the show that have been incredibly successful and also some elite athletes. And some of these athletes have spoken of their mental health issues. So I wanted to highlight a couple of them that I know speak about this regularly. One of which was a world champion, and that guy was Billy Schwer. So Billy Schwer was a boxing champion at lightweight, which he held, I believe, the British, Commonwealth and European belts, and then he fought at light welterweight to become the world champion. So Billy, once he'd ended his career, which he decided in an ambulance, by the way, as he was defeated as he held his world title, and he decided there and then that he was going to pack in. He was Billy the champion boxer, and then he went to being just Billy, and he speaks about this regularly. So Billy's mental health and the problems and issues that came from it, they ended up tearing his life apart, and he spoke about this on the show. After your boxing career, I know you said you had a few issues that where you wasn't Billy the boxer anymore. You had some identity problems. Yeah.
So we get attached. So a lot of athletes, boxers, I know so many that we struggle with from the transition from being an athlete to life out in the so-called real world is a real challenge, and one which I really struggled with. So I was so attached to being a world champion, a world-class athlete. So then that was gone. And then as I couldn't see a future for myself outside of the boxing ring. Right. So I went through a couple of years of depression. I struggled, made lots of bad choices, made mistakes, kind of wrecked my marriage, ended up going through a divorce. And the impact of all that kind of stuff was I went bankrupt, kind of lost everything. I moved back in with my parents. I'm so fortunate. I've got just amazing parents and an amazing family, amazing sisters. I've got extended family. My brother-in-laws are great. I'm very, very fortunate to have got some good people around me to support me, and they've been always there for me through my tough times. And I've got backers, I've got partners who are great and who can see something within me as I can myself. And it wasn't always, the star wasn't always bright. There were tough times. I've been through some tough, dark periods. Listen, I tell everyone, just get out there and fail. Just get out there, fail. Just keep failing. And eventually, but the thing about it is, it's enjoying the ride.
Yes.
But we get so significant and so caught up in it's not happening, which is easy to say, but if you're skint, got no money, struggling, it's difficult in those tough, dark times to think like that.
Yeah. Is it because people think too much about the naysayers? Do you think that's a lot of it? Because you were saying to me earlier that you thought that boxing at the highest level was around about 80% mental.
I think 80% of fights are won in your head.
Yeah.
And that's mental boxing.
Even elite athletes like him suffer mentally. Now, Billy was saying that 80% of the boxing matches are won and lost in your head. So if you think about it, if you can get your mind to an elite level, that no matter what happens, you focus on the right things and do the right things well, you will transpire and come through it all in the end. So this is what the elite people do. So he was doing it whilst he was a boxer. As soon as he stopped being a boxer, things become much more difficult for him. Also, we've got to talk about Tony Kelly, a professional footballer, and John Thompson. Now these guys had successful careers. Tony Kelly and John Thompson came onto the show and they spoke about their careers and their addictions. So they both had issues. Tony's issue was, as a professional footballer, he was also a gambler. So he was earning good money, had a great job. He played up front for 5 professional clubs, including Stoke City, and played in the League Cup final. And he played around 200 games, but he should have played around 400, according to Tony. It should have been a lot more. His mental health was affected by his gambling losses. And likewise, he never, ever reached his full potential. At 16, he's in the first team at Bristol City, should have been a huge star, and then by 17 they've asked him to leave the club. So you get the idea. He was having problems and issues even back in his early days, possibly a wild, addictive nature. I think he said at the time he was a little bit wild. And then he goes on to tell us all about how things fell apart as his gambling got out of control, and then his subsequent way that he turned his life around, writing a book called Red Card and starting the Red Card Gambling Addiction Charity. So we had him and John Thompson, who also had a really successful career on ITV in Scotland as a producer and journalist, and he was producing football programmes too. And John managed to get himself further and further up the ladder. All the time he had drinking problems, and John spoke of his massive amount of drink that he was drinking and how it didn't have a huge effect on him. He was topping up most of the time, but how this affected his career and how it affected his mind. Fitness is also, for me, mental health, because you cannot do things at a very high level, at least just to function. You need decent mental health. So I'm glad you guys have come over to talk about this, because it needs talking about even more.
Yeah, well, in terms of mental health, it's huge. In terms of addiction, you know, I think more people within addiction fields, etc., are now realising that, you know, there's a massive issue connected with mental health and gambling addiction. You know, we do some work, obviously, you know, the work we do, we'll talk about that later, but you know, when we talk about, you know, suicide with the former gambling addicts, you know, we've got a few slides we do where a 26-year-old, for instance, jumped out of his window, his balcony, and killed himself because of his gambling addiction. So we know there's a strong link with mental health, which is why we talk a lot about that, and, you know, working a little bit with mind, etc. Yeah, I think this is one of the things that I'm very interested in is the suicide thing, you know, because I mean, I've been doing live broadcasts on my own Facebook page for a number of months now, on different aspects of mental health, substance misuse, and recovery, and depression, anxiety, and suicide. I've tried to take my own life twice. You know, I don't have a... That's interesting. Sorry, John. I've always wondered, when I talk to my, you know, therapists and counsellor, etc., I've always wondered what it takes to get to that point, to cross that line of no return. As far as you're concerned, there's no hope. That's the end as far as you're concerned. And I've suffered with, you know, depression, I've suffered with anxiety and sleepless nights and all the rest of it, but I never actually got to a point where I said to myself, "Right, that's it." You know, and some people do, and that's fascinating.
I don't mind talking about it. I've talked about it. I've written about it. It's in there. You know, the first time was. The second time was when I hit my rock bottom that day in Ipswich, almost 8 years ago. I tried to throw myself out of a window. Well, I did throw myself out of a window, but I got stuck in the window.
How big were you in them days, John?
I hadn't eaten. I just got stuck in. I got stuck in the window. But I mean, I was hanging out this window, and
if this wasn't serious, it'd be quite,
the thing is,
comical.
It's okay. It's okay, because when I do share about this story, people do chuckle, and I've shared about it in, you know, like AA and stuff like that, and it does get a bit of a laugh. But it was because when I was hanging out the window, I remember it was bizarre. I could see people walking in the street below, and I remember thinking, this is what the glass half full, half empty means. And I'd never understood what that meant up until that point, you know, that particular single moment in time.
How high was you up, John?
I was two floors up. I was high enough to do so. I just wanted it to stop. But the first time was that was Christmas Eve 2006.
But at the point when you're at the window, was there any fear that, oh, fucking hell, I'm going to drop and be smashing the pavement, this and that, whatever? Was any fear of what's actually going to happen in the next 2 seconds?
I wanted at the very least to be I just wanted to be stopped, because I knew that I was hurting people. But I was causing chaos with the amount that I was drinking.
Same.
You know, I mean, I mean, if you think about it, I had a very successful career. I was married. I had a lovely home. I had lots of friends in Glasgow.
Tell us more about the career and what you was doing and how it spiraled to where it was, John.
Well, I was just I'd become my tolerance for alcohol had become. It was just unbelievable.
What was you drinking?
Well, I'd get up in the morning and I'd hidden vodka. Again, this is all in the book.
You were talking about your book.
I'd replace shampoo with vodka. So I had vodka in the shower. So I would wake up in the morning, and my then wife, it's awful. She didn't know what was going on.
Right. I was going to say, so your wife wasn't aware of the extent of your drinking?
No, not. I did admit to it later on, but my ex-wife didn't have a clue, and I still feel awful about that. But I'd drink vodka in the morning in the shower, and then grab my briefcase, get dressed, walk into the studios at STV. I would go into Marks and Spencer's, get 2 small bottles of red wine, get to the office, go into the viewing room, have 2 small bottles of red wine, then sit down and then carry on and working into the pub at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, have maybe 2-3 pints or 3 glasses of red wine, back to work. Sometimes I would leave the office saying that I would go for a sandwich, halfway through the afternoon, but I wouldn't. I'd go to the pub. I'd go to another pub where people didn't go to.
Right. It's funny, so you was going to the pub in your lunchtime, and when I finish football and work, I'll be in the bookies at lunchtime.
You'd be in the bookies at lunchtime. See how it's the similarities are there, you know. But and then I'd go to the pub after work, have maybe 3-4 pints, walk home, go into Marks and Spencer's, pick up tea, pick up 4 bottles of red wine, go into the toilets at Marks and Spencer's, down 1 bottle of red wine, and down it, and then 3 bottles of red wine in the bag still there. Then get down to near where the house was, into an alley, down another bottle of red wine. I still have 2 bottles of red wine. Get into the house, hide 1, and 1 was for dinner for myself.
I wanted to give you some ideas of what the professionals say that you need to do to be able to improve your mental health. So one of the things they all speak about is exercise. Exercise, if you're feeling depressed or you've got issues and stuff like that, can get you out of that mood. So if you want to transpire yourself from a sluggish mindset and mood, do some exercise. It doesn't actually need you to start thinking about it too much. Just do the exercise, and you'll find that the body does things like produce endorphins, and these things will make your mood improve. It's just a simple mathematical equation. You go and do the exercise, the endorphins come into your body, you feel better. 1, 2, 3, it's as easy as that. But of course, all of these things are incredibly difficult. It's not quite as simple as that, is it? But if you can do it over a longer period of time, exercise helps incredibly. The other thing that I think always helps is a change of scenery. So they always say a change is as good as a rest. So if you can change your scenery and everything around you changes for the better, then you're likely to be able to improve your mindset, your mood, and your characteristics too. So the whole way that you operate. If you can put yourself in a better place, you'll feel like you're in a better place, and then your things will work for you much, much better. Also, things like eating well and sleeping well. So, our bodies are machines. We will work better if we eat better. So if we can eat the right foods, athletes obviously have to do this to produce things at the highest levels. Likewise, if you've got problems and issues within your mind, let's say addictions, if you can eat better and sleep better, because sleep's obviously something that is incredibly important. Your body has to repair from sleep, and it also puts you in a state of mind away from being in the state of I'm feeling terrible to I'm feeling great. When you wake up in the morning and you've had a great night's sleep, then wow, the world's a different place. So all of these little things can chip away at you. And like Billy Schwer's and Tony Kelly's, who was athletes, the depression of their situation got to them and they end up having major problems. But you can stop these problems. You've just got to try some different things and see which ones work for you. So if you can also increase your capacity to stress. A lot of people suffer from stress, but you can just improve what you're doing slightly. So if you're suffering from stressful things, but you can take it down to a level that's acceptable to you, you can then increase it slightly until you actually find a level that's working for you. So on this day, World Mental Health Day, people are out there exercising physically, but I wanted to encourage some people to actually work on their mental health as well. You cannot function at any level unless your mental health is correct. So do you think the elite athletes and people around the world that are champions have brilliant minds and are working on their minds just as much as the body? Of course they do. You don't have to be somebody that's an elite athlete to be able to improve your mind and your mindset. You just have to work on it just like anything else. So we're quite happy to go and improve some of the other things that we do in our life. What are you doing to improve your mental health? Stuff like reducing your stress. So you don't have to increase your capacity to stress. You can actually just reduce the stress. So the situations that you're in that are stressful, don't do them so much. Don't go to those places. Don't do those things. Just get yourself in a position where you feel happy. And that's the other thing, basically. Don't stay around unhappy people. If you're going to stay around people that make you unhappy, you're going to get unhappy too. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can change your surroundings, exercise more, improve the company that you keep, eat well, sleep well, reduce or improve your capacity to stress. And the thing that they all say, the professionals all say, you must seek help. So if you're feeling down or stressed in any way in particular that you think you need help, then today's as good a day as any. World Mental Health Day. Go and ask somebody for some help. Try and get a second opinion and try and improve your situation. Hope that's helped. Hope that helps to improve your mental health. And if it does, then I'm happy. I hope this podcast gives you inspiration. And if you want to contact me, I'm Andy Arter, and it's transformyourwealthandhealth@gmail.com.